Hello class, my name is Emma Mink and my digital ethnography will be on Richmond, California. So I was born and raised in Richmond. I only lived elsewhere for about 2 years and I'm back in Richmond now. So I know a lot about this area. First, I'd like to start off by saying that Richmond is on Ohlone land. So it's based on stolen land. There's also a mission as well in San Pablo, which is next to Richmond, which I'm sure you guys know what the missions were used for, so I won't go too in depth about that. But beginning off, so Richmond was officially incorporated in 1905. So it broke off from Rancho San Pablo and it was, officially made a city during that time. So just backtracking a little bit to 1901, Standard Oil was set up in Richmond. So now it is called the Chevron Refinery, and it's basically it holds a bunch of oil and everything that's near North Richmond. In the 1940s, during World War II, the Kaiser shipyards were built. So because of this, there was a lot of open jobs, but the population really drastically increased during this time. So there was a lot of women also working in factories during that time. Really, the whole area was an industrial booming. Also, fun fact, so I'm sure y'all know about Rosie the Riveter, she's like, we can do it. That was actually created in Richmond, California, and the women who worked there called themselves Rosies. In the 1970s, there was a major retail development in the Hilltop area, which is kind of further away from downtown Richmond, which is the main center of Richmond. So because of this, most people ended up moving and living towards these areas with more, commercial buildings, retail stores, and stuff like that. So that's kind of when the center of Richmond, the downtown area, and the Iron Triangle starts kind of steadily decline economically wise. Okay, next, I'm just going to go over the population over the years. So as I said earlier, during the 1940s, World War II, there was a major influx of people that moved to Richmond. So as you can see here, the population jumped from, around, 24,000 all the way up to almost 100,000 people in the matter of a couple of years. Afterwards, there was a lot of people left Richmond. So as you can see, the population decreased down to around 74,000. And then since the 70s or so, there's been a steady increase in the population, and there is now 111.3 thousand people living in the city of Richmond. This is mainly because Richmond was considered one of the most affordable areas to live in the Bay Area for a long time. It's, of course, with gentrification and everything, has gotten to be a lot more expensive, especially in the last 5 years. But the housing prices were pretty cheap. For example, my parents bought their house in Richmond in 1999, and it was $125,000. Now the house is worth over probably $600,000. So as you can see, even though prices went up, it's still sort of more affordable than other places in the Bay Area right now. Next, I'm just going to break down the race demographics here. So as you can see, Richmond has almost 37% of white people living there. 1% are Latino. Black make up 20.2%, and then we have, just 2.4% are Asian, and 5.7% are two or more races, so mixed. And then these little slivers over here, for some reason, my little graph didn't want to put the names in there. But these two slivers represent Native Americans and then also Islanders as well. So as you can see, those only make up about a total 1% of the population here in Richmond. Next, I have the poverty levels by race. So 1 out of 6 Richmond residents live at or below the poverty level. Our poverty level is 20% higher than any city in Contra Costa County. So there's a lot of cities in Contra Costa County, and Richmond has a lot more poverty. So as you can see, I kind of broke down the percentage of people living in poverty. So as you can see, Islanders have the highest level of poverty here at almost 25%. Next, we have Hispanics, Blacks, and then we have mixed races, white, Asian, and at the very last is Native Americans experience the least amount of poverty in Richmond. Also, I wanted to, next, I would like to talk about the graduation rate by race. So this graph here kind of illustrates the educational disparities. So as you can see, the light blue here is the high school graduation rate, and the dark blue is a 4-year college degree graduation rate. So as you can kind of look at the bottom over here and see everything, the breakdown. And the main reason for this is that I'm not gonna lie, the Richmond school systems absolutely suck. So these rates directly correlate with what area of Richmond that, you know, the group like mainly populates. So for example, near 23rd Street is mainly Hispanics, and they all have to go to Richmond High School, which is one of the worst high schools in Richmond. So it's really sad, honestly, but the teachers there, they don't really care that much. You know, there's not a lot of like educational assistance. They don't really prepare students for college either. Kennedy High School is another high school that is kind of second, like it's a little bit, you know, it's a little bit above Richmond High, but it's not good. A lot of people, actually, a lot of my friends, is what they had to do is lie about where they live. Like say they lived with a relative in El Cerrito so they could change school districts and possibly attend a better school, you know, to give themselves a better chance at going to a college, graduating high school, getting honors, etc. Next, hold on, I'm trying to, okay. Hold on, sorry. Okay, next here, so I just wanted to show how many, almost 80% of Richmond residents are US citizens, and 21.1% of Richmond residents are green card holders, migrants, or undocumented individuals. So this number, the amount of undocumented individuals is sort of unknown because Richmond only recently became one of the safe cities a couple years ago. So people were, you know, they're pretty terrified of releasing their citizenship status to anybody, to telling people around them. Back in 2017 or 18, I remember at Contra Costa College, which is in Richmond, well, it's like the Richmond-San Pablo border, ICE had come to the school one day, and this was when Trump was freshly elected, and nobody went to school that day. Like everybody was gone. Because as you can imagine, like it's pretty scary. So this number, I'm not exactly sure, you know, the exact amount of people, but that really does, until Richmond became a safe city, it was, you know, it kind of really affects people living here because they're, you know, if you can't go to school, you know, it affects your education if you think you're gonna get deported. Next here, so this is just some statistics to give you an idea about, you know, the makeup of Richmond. And next, I would like to talk about just some more things, such as the Richmond Refinery, as I mentioned earlier. In 1901, you know, they set up operations in Richmond. So it's on the border of North Richmond. So there is a literal fence separating Richmond from like the housing from the refinery. So because of this area is particularly like low cost housing. There's a lot of we call it the projects there, Section 8 housing for really like low income people. And they have no other choice but to reside here because the expensive housing options, and this is the cheapest area to live. Because it's right next to a toxic refinery. So the fumes that are released, you know, they can cause cancer, et cetera, et cetera. You know, nobody wants to, you see this right here? This is in 2012 when the Richmond refinery exploded. Everybody in Richmond will remember what they were doing when the refinery exploded. They issued an evacuation order. They told everybody to leave the Bay Area or like, you know, Richmond area, most people either headed up towards the mountains or they went to the city, but there's a lot of people who don't have transportation that were stuck in their homes right next to where this was happening, and that's North Richmond. So in the 80s, Black leaders had coined the term environmental racism, which perfectly describes, placing people of color, low-income individuals, disadvantaged individuals, right next to toxic environmental areas. So that's just a little bit of the darker side of Richmond. I would like to address the crime in Richmond. Richmond always has this stigma of being a violent city. For one, I don't like calling Richmond violent or high crime rate. I feel like it's really a negative connotation for such a diverse area. So there was a couple years where there was, some high crime rates. Richmond was considered a very dangerous city. It was on the top 10, dangerous cities in the United States. However, I don't feel like this really accurately reflects Richmond because, for one, there's been a lot of, more mentoring programs and stuff like that. Community centers popped up in order to kind of, reduce the type of crime that occurs here. Also, another thing that I would like to mention is that recently the Richmond Police Department was defunded $3 million, and then another $3 million was allocated towards different different programs and stuff like that of dealing with crime. So I feel like that will definitely make a difference here in Richmond. For example, having mental health professionals able to dispatch and deal with, somebody who's having a mental health crisis who might, have some violent tendencies. I feel like they're way more equipped to deal with those types of things than our police officers. And I feel like, having the proper help for people will reduce, these statistics. Also, like I said, this money has kind of gone towards different programs as well. So helping people who may be more at risk for committing crimes, people who are in, extreme poverty, stuff like that. So I feel like, overall, I wouldn't walk alone on 23rd Street at night. I don't think anybody should. But overall, I just want to put it out there that Richmond is not as bad as people make it sound. Next, I would like to just show some images here. Sorry, hold on. Okay, I don't know why this is so blurry, but Richmond is very diverse. So there's a lot of vibrant things that go on all the time. So as you can see here, I don't know, I'm sorry, it's a really bad picture. But there's a lot of festivals, cultural events, all types of things that happen. And my other favorite part about Richmond is the art. Sorry, this is another really bad picture. Everywhere you go, there is murals, there's beautiful art painted by people that is, honestly, it has a lot of, social connotations to it. So a lot of the art is very meaningful to our current social climate. So honestly, I really love Richmond because it's so colorful. Everywhere you go, it's colorful. Anyways, that's my digital ethnography. Thank you.